Some crimes they're so brutal, so completely strange, that they just never fade away. It's like they leave a permanent scar on a place, on a town's memory. And today, we're going to dive into a case that has done exactly that for more than 100 years now, the Villisca axe murders. So, this is the big question, isn't it? What in the world happened in this little Iowa town on June 10th, 1912? Because you see, what should have been just another peaceful summer morning, well, it turned into something else entirely. A discovery was made that kicked off a mystery people are still talking about. So let's jump right in and see what went down. All right, so we're talking about a brutal night in Villisca. This was truly a small town's worst nightmare. See, on that morning, June 10th, 1912, everything seemed normal. But then a neighbor got a little worried. The Moore family, they were usually up and about, but the house was silent. After knocking and getting no answer, the neighbor went inside. And what they found was just a scene of absolute horror, the kind of thing no one ever thinks could happen in their town. 8. That's the number. Inside that house, they found 8 people, all of them murdered in their sleep. For a small town like Villisca, it was completely off the charts, something nobody could have ever prepared for. And these weren't just numbers. These were people. This was personal. You had the Moore family, Josiah and Sarah and their 4 kids. 4. And as if that wasn't horrific enough, 2 little girls from the neighborhood, the Stillinger sisters, Lena and Ina, were there for a sleepover. Just think about that. 2 whole families, basically gone in the blink of an eye. And so this horrific event gets its name, the Villisca axe murders. It's exactly what it sounds like, a brutal slaying of 8 people with an axe while they were asleep. And here's a really chilling detail. The weapon? It was Josiah Moore's own axe, left right there at the scene, covered in blood. It's just the thought of them all asleep with absolutely no way to fight back. It's terrifying. Okay, so this is where things get even weirder. The crime scene itself was just baffling. As the police started looking around, the shock and horror started to mix with total confusion. They found these really unsettling clues that just didn't add up. Instead of getting answers, they just got a whole lot more questions. Get this. Every single mirror in the house was covered up. Not smashed, but carefully draped with cloth. I mean, what does that even mean? Was it some kind of bizarre ritual? Or was it simpler? Maybe the killer just couldn't stand the sight of their own face after doing something so monstrous. Nobody knows for sure, and that one detail has been puzzling people for over 100 years. And then there's this. All the doors were locked from the inside. So you've got to ask, right? If there's no sign of a forced exit, how on earth did the killer get out and leave no trace? It's like a classic locked room mystery, something that seemed almost impossible for the police to wrap their heads around. So you have a killer who just vanished, and an investigation that was basically doomed from the start. You have to remember, this was 1912. There's no DNA testing, no modern forensics. All they had were these really strange clues that didn't make any sense and almost no physical evidence. The person who did this just seemed to disappear into the night. Okay, so here's a quick look at how the investigation played out. Or didn't. It kicks off right away in 1912, but they're spinning their wheels. Years go by. Then, in 1917, they think they've got a break. They actually put a suspect on trial, a traveling minister, but he's acquitted. After that, the whole thing just goes completely cold. And to this day, it's officially an unsolved case. And that right there is the key takeaway. No one, not a single person was ever proven guilty. I mean, there were tons of theories, plenty of suspects. They even had a big trial, but nothing stuck. For the Moore family and those 2 little Stillinger girls, justice just never came. So this is where the story takes a turn. What happens when a crime like this goes unsolved? When a mystery that dark just sits there, festering? Well, the story doesn't just die. It changes. It morphs into something else. Part legend, part ghost story. And that's precisely what the Moore house became. The place where this horrible tragedy happened is now known as, and I quote, one of the most haunted places in America. Seriously, it's a huge destination for paranormal investigators and ghost hunters from all over the globe. So you have this stark contrast, right? Back then, it was just a family home, full of life, kids running around. But now, It's a paranormal landmark. The violence that happened there totally rewrote its story. Nobody calls it the Moore House anymore. It's the Villisca Axe Murder House, a place people visit because of the darkness and the mystery surrounding it. So, why are we still talking about this more than 100 years later? What makes this case stick with us? Well, it's really a perfect storm, isn't it? First, you've got the sheer brutality of it all. Then you add in those bizarre, almost ritual-like clues, the covered mirrors, the locked doors. On top of that, there was never any clear motive. And finally, the biggest piece, nobody ever paid for it. It's a story without an ending, and our brains just hate that. We can't help but wonder. Which brings us to this one last, really haunting question. I mean, the case is cold, everyone involved is long gone, so the only witness that's still standing is the house. Will it ever give up its secrets? Will we ever really know what happened on that awful night back in 1912? It's a chilling thought, but we probably never will.